Hello viewers and welcome to my new video. My name is Bartek and in this episode I'm going to be talking to you about YouTube Content ID. And actually this video has specifically been requested by one of my subscribers. She's called Dolores. So thank you very much, Dolores, for requesting this video, and obviously this is following a video that I did on Ditto Music, and then a couple more videos about sort of DistroKid and how I upload tracks to DistroKid, and also sort of the comparison between DistroKid and Ditto Music. So Dolores is basically currently trying to start her own YouTube channel, and she's also I think she's a songwriter by the sounds of it, and she's going to be releasing some videos that contain music and probably some other content as well. I actually don't know exactly, but I'm sure she can let us know in the comments below what is going to be. And what she actually said to me in her comment was that she's not going to start her YouTube channel until such time when she has actually established her YouTube Content ID and she's on that system, so that YouTube can kind of search and scan for her content, you know, in case someone else maybe has used that content, or maybe her music in one of their videos. So actually today's video I kind of wanted to go over everything, including what actually Content ID system is, whether it's good to have it, whether it's recommended, you know, depending on your circumstances, and hopefully you will be able to draw your own conclusions at the end of the video in terms of what your preferred way of dealing with this is going to be. Let's start from answering the key question: what is YouTube Content ID? Okay, so you may have noticed, if you already have your own YouTube channel, that sometimes, for example, and I've had that myself, if you try to perhaps use someone else's song in your content, so for example, I don't know, you might be doing like a reaction video, or you might be listening or trying to use a song perhaps for your mix or your master video, that kind of thing. If you do that, and if it's a well-established song released by a big record company, chances are that that is going to be recognized as a sort of copyright claim, okay? And depending on what the policy of that company is, they can either allow you to use that content, to use that, say, music in your video, but that comes at a price. So effectively they will collect revenue from your ads. So for example, if you run ads, or if YouTube runs ads on your videos, then basically those ads, the revenue from the ads will be transferred to the copyright owner of that music rather than yourself. And yeah, it happens because those big record companies, you know, they obviously have a budget for these things. You know, they can sort of pay YouTube to sort of be there and protect the copyright. So effectively the Content ID itself is a system. It's a trace system, effectively, by which YouTube is tracing certain content. So the way in which this works is that first of all you need to upload a part of your content. So for example, like a sample of your music or sample of your video to the Content ID system, and then that system basically is going to search across the entire YouTube content, so all videos on YouTube, and if they find a match, you know, to that either music or a piece of video, then effectively they are going to give you those options as well. So you as the copyright owner of the original material will be able to decide, okay, so do I want to, you know, ask the content creator who has used my copyrighted material to, for example, remove that content completely, so take down the video completely, or perhaps I would like to allow them to use that content, but then I'm going to collect that revenue from the ads that are being run on that video, for example. So that in a nutshell, that is basically what Content ID system is. So first and foremost, what I think you need to, the question that you need to answer as a creator, as either a music, you know, creator, songwriter, or content creator? I think the question is like this: is this actually the right thing for me right now? That would be my first question. And the reason for that is because, say for example, if you're only just starting out, and this is a brand new channel, you don't have any subscribers, or even maybe you kind of starting your channel and you're still building it up, and you kind of maybe have like a small amount of subscribers, and perhaps your music, again, if you're a songwriter, is not yet well established, not many people actually know about you as an artist. Is it actually worth? So that would be the first question from a business perspective, because Dolores specifically was asking about what does it look like from a sort of business perspective, like investment perspective, because sometimes this may cost money, and I will move on to that part in a minute. But for example, I think that would be the first question that I would be asking myself, is it actually worth for me to invest in this right now? Because is it actually likely in the first place that anybody is actually going to use my copyrighted material? Okay, so is someone likely to actually use my music in their videos or my even content or whatever? So let me first of all go through what YouTube themselves tell you as content creators, and I'm going to share my screen and just show you what I found. Okay, so firstly, there is an article here that gives you an overview of copyright management tools. So the first thing is that YouTube basically are saying that they have several tools that copyright owners can use to protect and manage their copyrighted content on YouTube. And the copyright management tools are designed for different types of creators, from occasional uploaders to established media companies. And they have copyright management tools that include copyright takedown web form, they have copyright match tool, they have content verification program, and lastly, they have content ID. So by default, the copyright takedown web form is available for everyone on YouTube to use. Okay, so this is free, by the way. Like, you don't have to go through any music distributor to do this. So the availability of the other copyright management tools is based on, and this is specifically what YouTube themselves are saying, so I think this is important to keep in mind here, is demonstrated need for frequent copyright management, available resources to manage your rights and content, and the knowledge of YouTube's copyright system. So what they say effectively here is that while they work to expand the availability of their tools, they're also committed to protecting against significant disruptions that can result from their misuse. So I suppose to a degree they kind of say that, firstly, you need to ask yourself a question, is it likely that you are going to be experiencing a lot of this sort of problem, that someone is actually using your content in their videos, so is this actually a viable option for you? Is this something that you really should be doing or need to be doing? Okay, so for the infrequent copyright management, as they call it, they suggest that you should be using this copyright takedown web form, and basically everybody on YouTube has access to this. If your copyright protected work is uploaded without your permission, you can use this web form effectively to submit a copyright takedown, to request the content to be taken down from YouTube. And for most copyright owners, the web form is the fastest and easiest way to request a copyright takedown. And the copyright owner or an agent authorized to act on the owner's behalf should submit this web form. So important to note that this web form seems to just be covering a takedown request. So actually this is not covering the revenue stream from someone using your video and say running ads on that video. So that's important to keep in mind. And what they say then for frequent copyright management, so to find the right tool for your frequent copyright management needs, start by filling out this form. So they basically ask questions. Make sure you're signed in with the same YouTube account you've previously used to submit takedown requests through our web form. So your responses will give us more info about your needs for copyright management, so we can find the tool that's right for you. Once you submit the form, we'll review your responses and email you our recommendations based on how often you upload videos, how often your videos are re-uploaded, whether you manage an account on behalf of a company, your history of submitting requests through our web form, and specifically how your previous web form requests show an understanding of copyright and a need for frequent takedowns. So again, they kind of, maybe discourage smaller creators. I kind of read between the lines from kind of going into like big kind of, all guns blazing and trying to kind of have this system where you can like catch everybody who is sort of trying to use your content. Because again, that might be unlikely if you're just a smaller creator or a small songwriter or an artist. So the next thing that they say is the tool that they have here is called Copyright Match Tool. Okay, so the Copyright Match Tool can automatically identify videos that are copies or potential copies of other videos on YouTube. The tool finds videos that match other videos that were already uploaded to YouTube or taken down due to a takedown request. Once matches are found, you can choose actions to take, such as emailing the uploader, so you can email the uploader directly, you can request a removal of the content, or archive the match. And the Copyright Match Tool uses the same matching technology, by the way, as Content ID, but it's easier to manage and requires fewer resources. So again, this is a tool that you can actually request directly from YouTube, right? Keep in mind, you don't have to go through a music distributor to get to this, okay? So you need to contact YouTube, and then basically submit a request. So again, the Copyright Match Tool is available to any YouTube user who submitted a valid copyright request, removal request. Once your removal request is approved, the Copyright Match Tool starts scanning YouTube uploads for potential matches to the videos reported in your removal request. Then you can review these potential matches and decide what action to take. For partners, so this is important. So if you are being monetized, so again, think about it that way. If you're only just starting on YouTube, for example, and you are not being monetized, you're not in a YouTube partnership program, they again sort of discourage some of this activity, I think. But just let me read this out. For partners in the YouTube partner program or any channel that's filled out this form and shown a need for an advanced rights management tool, the Copyright Match Tool scans for full re-uploads of your videos on other YouTube channels. So this is for like a re-upload. So if someone, steals your video completely, re-uploads it and uses it. The tool scans videos uploaded after yours, so it's important you're the first one to upload the content to YouTube. And there's a warning here that says misuse of the Copyright Match Tool may result in loss of feature access or termination of your YouTube account or partnership. So misuse includes intentional or repeated abuse of the copyright removal request process, or attempted probing or reverse engineering of the match system. So again, they also mention something that's called fair use, but again, that's a bit, that term is actually a little bit undefined, because actually if someone says uses your music for anything, sometimes they can claim fair use, but I think you can dispute that and still win. But I'm not going to go over that right now, not in this particular video, but I can try and cover that in another video if that's of interest. So effectively what they say here is that you can actually use this particular option through the YouTube Studio, and that sort of matching tool, and then you can check if there are any matches, and then you can contact the creators directly, or you can sort of resolve it via YouTube. So the next option that YouTube offer is called Content Verification Program. Okay, so what they say here is, if you often need to remove content and have previously submitted many valid takedown requests, you may be eligible for our Content Verification Program. The program gives copyright owners a tool to search for content they believe is infringing and request takedowns for many videos at once. If you don't need to search and remove many videos on an ongoing basis, the copyright takedown web form is the best option. So again, they kind of take you back to that copyright takedown web form. Okay, so let's move on to the content ID in that case. So, Content ID is available to copyright owners with the most complex copyright management needs. So this is YouTube's own words, yeah? Such as record labels or movie studios. And again, I'm going to return to this. If your songs aren't that known, you know, if you're only starting as an artist or as a kind of YouTube creator, chances are it's very highly unlikely that anybody is going to be using your music or content in the videos. Okay, but let's just focus on what YouTube are saying here. So to qualify for Content ID, copyright owners must have previously submitted many valid takedown requests and have the resources to manage Content ID, among other criteria. So Content ID is a matching system that automatically identifies content that may be infringing. When videos are uploaded to YouTube, they're scanned against a database of files submitted by copyright owners. If Content ID finds content that matches one of your works, you can choose actions to take, such as block a whole video from being viewed, monetize the video by running ads against it, sometimes sharing revenue with the uploader, or track the video's viewership statistics. These actions can be specific to a country or region. For example, a video may be monetized in one country and region and blocked or tracked in another. So effectively, this is quite complicated, but you know, you can still get this directly through YouTube. I think you must not sort of think that this is impossible, but obviously there are certain requirements here. So you may sort of have to prove that you've already sort of made some takedown requests previously and things like that. Okay, so that's it when it comes to Content ID. Now let's move on to these music distributors, because what Dolores was actually asking in her comment was, well, do I have to pay, you know, per upload, or what does it actually cost, that kind of thing. So let's have a look at this, and I'm going to use two examples because I am still registered with Ditto Music, even though I've sort of removed all my tracks from there now. But I'm also now with DistroKid, so I've still got a bit of an overlap because my kind of contract with Ditto Music is still valid for a couple more months. Okay, so I can actually tell you exactly what it looks like in Ditto Music and in DistroKid. So let's start from Ditto Music. So Ditto Music effectively are saying, and this is my understanding, that they can apply for a YouTube Content ID matching platform by request. So Content ID will scan all content uploaded to YouTube to check if it features your music, okay? And if your music is found in any content, a copyright claim will be automatically applied. They can only apply Content ID to your release if your release is also delivered to YouTube Music through Ditto. So that's important to keep in mind. And also what they say here is to prevent erroneous claims being made against content that you don't own, YouTube advises that the following types of content should not have Content ID applied. That includes cover songs, generic instrumentals, remasters, sound-alike recordings or songs with audio elements or samples you don't have the exclusive license to use, remixes, songs that use free beats, loops or samples sourced from music apps or audio workstations, songs using beats you have leased or purchased, songs that use audio elements in the public domain or with open licenses such as Creative Commons. When you request YouTube Content ID, your releases will need to be checked for eligibility. So again, falsely declaring that your content is completely original will be viewed as a misuse of our Content ID service and may result in a warning, suspension or the closure of your account. So that's when it comes to Ditto Music. It appears that they do not charge any extra as long as you upload your tracks to YouTube Music, through Ditto. Ditto are saying that effectively they can apply content ID option also. Alright, so this is when it comes to Ditto Music. Now let's move over to DistroKid. So first of all, I'll show you that there's two options here, and actually DistroKid are charging for this service. So if you want to make sure that you have this, firstly I'm going to show you on my album. So effectively this is the full album, 8 songs, and what they say here is basically they want to charge $14.95 per year. Alright, so I think this is an ongoing fee that you would need to sort of pay every single year for this album to have this YouTube content ID or to take part. And I think that way, because remember when I was reading on YouTube's own website that they kind of usually enter into those kind of contracts with record labels and people like that, and companies. And I think this is what it means. I think the DistroKid will effectively manage this for you, right? Yeah, so effectively what they say is get notified and paid if your music is ever used in any YouTube videos. We'll add this album to YouTube's content ID database and continually scan for matches. And when your music is detected in any YouTube video, you'll be notified, and ad revenue will automatically go to you instead of the person who uploaded the video. So that's what they offer, but you need to keep in mind it is $14.95 per year for this album to have that. All right, so that's one thing. So let's just check if how much it costs per single, because again that should be different. So per single they want to charge $4.95 per year. That's slightly different. Again, same principles apply, but the fee is effectively lower for a single than what it would be for an album. Still, you have to pay each year. That's my understanding. That sort of to keep that up, you'd need to pay each year. So again, I think you'd need to ask yourself a question: what is the likelihood if you really wanted to go have that through the distributor? But again, like I said before, I think it's possible that you could get the content ID onto the system directly without going through a distributor, providing that you meet those certain criteria that they are talking about. Again, if you're a smaller creator, a small perhaps quite relatively unknown songwriter, you need to ask yourself that question: is it actually worth for me? So like if you talk about business, investment, that kind of thing, what is the chance, what is the likelihood that someone is actually going to use my music or my content right now, and and what is the projected revenue that this is possibly going to bring me? Or am I just going to be paying this amount, right? So $14.95 or $4.95, whatever that might be. If you have a few releases, for example through DistroKid, you're gonna be paying quite a lot of money to have them, protected in a way against any use on YouTube by other creators. What I would actually recommend first and foremost to any songwriter, even before you even start considering anything like this content ID, is make sure that you register yourself first of all as a music author, as a music writer, with your respective PRO. A PRO stands for Performance Rights Organization. So in every country has one of those organizations, and those organizations effectively, once you register your works, so your music that you've written, with those organizations, there's also a specific number that goes with it. It's called an ISRC code, which is effectively an internationally recognized number that can be tracked. And to be honest with you, if anybody ever uses your music without your permission, and you're a copyright holder and you have registered your works with your PRO, you can absolutely 100% make a claim or even take that person to court for basically infringing on your copyright. So to be honest with you, you don't necessarily have to have YouTube content ID to be able to go after somebody if someone has used your music unlawfully without your permission. But I would recommend, and I'm going to make a separate video because this video would be too long basically to cover that subject about PROs and how that actually works and how to register, what you can do. But I'll cover that in a separate video. But just keep that in mind for now, that first and foremost, make sure that you actually register your works as a copyright holder. So if you write music, register that music, because that is your starting point, no matter what. Even for the YouTube content ID, how are you going to prove that you are a copyright owner of that music, for example, you know, if your songs aren't registered? So make sure you register your songs with a PRO, Performance Rights Organization, first. Something else that's really worth mentioning here is when you upload your videos to YouTube, YouTube actually has a tick box now that says allow people to sample this content, okay? And this is really important. Why? Because if you untick this, right, effectively what you're saying is you don't allow other people to sample your content, right? And I think this may be specifically for YouTube Shorts at the moment, that, you know, you either allow or don't allow people to use your content, or including your music, obviously, that is in YouTube Shorts. But that is definitely one way to make sure that people do not use your copyrighted material and your own content in some, at least in YouTube Shorts, right? So it's good to keep that in mind as well. This is a very easy way to actually prevent that from happening without going for any content ID business or anything like that. Okay, so that brings us to the end of this video and the conclusion. So let's just sum up. Content ID is basically a system that is used by YouTube to sort of scan all the videos and make a match whenever that sort of original content was uploaded to that sort of system. Once that match is found, you can either sort of block that video, sort of ask for a takedown, or actually monetize a video in which someone else used your music or your video content. Secondly, you can actually request various options for YouTube, including the web form, sort of to take down videos that you have used your content. You can do some other matching tools and things like that. They are all available to YouTube creators, and so is the content ID. It's just that you have to meet specific criteria. So you can apply, you can actually fill a form in and see if you are eligible, and you can actually go directly to YouTube to get this. Music distributors also offer this. Some offer this free of charge, providing, like Ditto Music, providing that you upload your music to YouTube Music through Ditto Music distribution. Some other distributors, such as DistroKid, actually want to charge for this, and it's an annual fee that you have to pay ongoingly. So if you are a small creator, only starting out, or a small songwriter, you need to ask yourself a question. Is this a good option for me to right now, for example, to be forking out the money, to be paying for this? Is this actually going to bring me any return on my investment? You know, how likely basically is it that other people will be using my music or my content in the videos? And am I actually going to make any money out of that? I think that the bigger you grow on YouTube, and kind of once you enter the YouTube partnership program and start monetizing your videos, and then once your music sort of becomes more established, I would definitely invest in it. I'm not sure if I would be investing in it like sort of like straight away from being a small artist, but obviously that is for you yourself to answer that question, you know, for yourself. So thank you very much for watching the video. I hope that it answers your questions. Please let me know in the comments if you have any further questions on this subject, and if you would like me to expand on anything, or make more videos of a similar nature, or to expand on any particular point that I made in this video. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and give this video a thumbs up, and I will see you in my next video.